day of LEC Summer, where it is time for Rogue versus XL. And there's been a lot of discussion surrounding XL Esports' new lineup. It will be put to the test right away against Rogue, who was a finalist in spring. Ender, I think a lot of these changes maybe came out of left field for XL. And we have to also remember that they actually were very close to making playoffs. In fact, in spring, we were even talking about how this was the best split that XL had ever had. What do you make of the changes with Nukeduck coming in the mid lane for Chocolate and Denyk stepping into that support role?
Well, I think the changes are a step in the right direction. Excel was a really weird one for me in the spring split because I felt like their record ultimately looked better than their performance in game. And what I mean by that is early on in the split, they were able to get a lot of wins for like smart draft choices, but it looked like on paper, their roster was just weaker than a lot of the other teams in the LEC. So I think bringing in someone like Nukeduck is a good idea. Now, Nukeduck is a guy who at the start of the year actually looked pretty good, then had to step away for some personal reasons, so I'm unsure what his form is going to be, but I think that he was actually having a pretty decent start to a split after 2 pretty mediocre years.
I also think historically speaking, Nukeduck is a player that has a proven track record over a very long period of time. And despite the fact that Nukeduck has always flirted both with the top of the table and the bottom of the table, you can never discount the fact that he has always been highly regarded by teams, by his competitors, by everyone who has played with and against him. I think Nukeduck is a straight upgrade. I think there's a few more question marks around Denyk. I do, however, think theoretically Denyk should be a stronger player in the support role. And I think it's important to call out as well that Nukeduck does bring a wealth of experience. He has been around for a very long time. I think that can only be beneficial. The thing for me is that XL have always been that team that ended, like you said, a little bit of a weird one. They've always been one game away from playoffs, and they really need to try find that magic ingredient that it seems to be eluding them.
And that pushes them over the edge now for once and for all. And XL, they are looking to follow in the footsteps of Rogue, who've had an incredible journey over the past 2 years. And I like to take Rogue very much as a case study for what importing or not out of another country, but then out of the ERLs, players can do to your lineup. Good scouting, good nurturing of talent, good combination of talents. And I think Rogue has been the leading example in
Promoting
that.
is the word I think is going to be really good. I mean, look, historically, internally, we actually used to talk about Rogue and formerly Rocket as being a talent factory, right? And I think when you look at specifically the Polish League, the ERL scenes and the players that Rogue have promoted, it is a proven track record, strong development, strong improvement, and consistency. The one thing that's interesting to me is Rogue theoretically should have won that final, but they didn't have that clutch factor that the Mad Lions players had. So that's what I'm looking to see for this team in summer.
Also, I should have does not work, I don't think. You win the final or you don't, Trevor.
Touche. I mean, 2-0 up and in the advantage, you're 100% right.
But indeed, and Ender, this is a team that has proved that they can evolve. They have ended 5th, then 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd in the LEC. So, I mean, logically, they win the split, right?
Oh, yeah, but what about that first split? Now, that was a bunch of different players. No, honestly, Rogue was a team that even starting out in that 5th place, that split, we were like, wait a second, these players all look so good, so many fresh faces coming in from the ERL scene, and I think everyone expected them to step up and be very strong one day. Now, at the time, no one could have been like, wow, this team would just be better than G2 eventually, but they were last split, and I think that, Trevor, you're onto something there. Should have, would have, could have, who knows, but Rogue were neck and neck with the Mad Lions, and both those teams are so evenly matched at the top. I think that Rogue are going to come back after winning that heartbreak of a Game 5 in the finals with only more ferocity and summer.
And the thing for Rogue that's very difficult coming into summer is expectations are very high. They have consistently shown improvement. They have developed. You talked about it. 5-4-3-2. What comes next, we'll find out. But as a team that has the players they have, the support they have, the track record they have, now they cannot afford to take their foot off the gas. We saw Mad Lions drop a game to G2 earlier today with high expectations, and that also has an impact on performance. So we get to see that mentality tested early on, but they are still heavy favorites against XL.
Fantastic setup by my 2 analysts. We'll see if the Rogue success story continues in week 1 as we send it over to Medi. Yay!
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I'm Medi, he's Vedi, and we're here for the final 3 games of day 1. And what games they are going to be, Vedius. I, for one, am very excited to be back here in the LEC studio. How are you feeling?
I'm ready. We've had a pretty busy year so far. Of course, Mad Lions going off to MSI and having a very solid performance. Yeah. And the team that they did defeat was Rogue. I think many people looked at that final, expected them to be able to actually come out on top, especially after that 5th game performance. And we heard it from Hansam himself in that hype video where he talked about how he felt like that trophy was stolen from him. But now it is the Summer Split, and this is his opportunity at getting that trophy himself. And I think that this is going to be a statement game for Rogue, or at least it should be the expectation. They're still considered one of the favorites in the tournament. Let's see how they stack up against this new roster from XL.
I am loving these new tunes. Let's get on into it. Rogue versus XL. This is actually a jam, man. Kevin, can you send me a link for this? I want to put it on my workout playlist, please. Kevin's just told me he's posted the playlist on Twitter for all of you. At SexyFail, you can have a look, go find it, find the tunes, find the songs, and find the bangers that will keep us going through the course of summer season. We are into draft. Immediately, Ezreal taken away here by Rogue, and Gwen by XL.
Now, so far today, the red side bans have been Gwen, Renekton, Nocturne, and I'm curious if these are the now must-be red bans, as it seems to be following the same trend. Lee Sin also going to be taken off from Rogue. We've been seeing a lot of Lee Sin bans on the blue side as well, so it seems that there are a lot of power picks existing in the current meta.
There definitely are things like the Varus that we see banned out here as well. The Nocturne's still very strong. Lots of different options for these teams. Senna taken away by XL, Lee Sin and Varus removed by Rogue, and now we'll see where Rogue want to go with their first pick. We haven't seen Viego since game one, since Wonder took it in the top lane, but it is open once again if Rogue want to lock it in.
It certainly is. I wonder what this priority will be. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rumble inspired, considered the best jungler last split. Kind of been on a steady upward trajectory since his arrival to the LEC and really cemented himself as one of the best last split. And now I'm excited to see what he'll do on the Rumble Champion, especially considering how contentious it has been on social media. Is it actually a good jungler? Is it just a solo queue pick? Is it better in the solo lanes? Well, we'll have to wait and see, because remember, Odo used to be a big-time Rumble player back in the day. Saying that, he's been playing for many years, so he's probably got a name on many champions at this point. As we move over to a Wukong from the sides of Kryze.
Rumble's still 100% presence across all major regions through summer. 40 picks, well 41 now, and 19 bans. The Wukong locked in for Kryze in the top lane, teamed that up with a Xin Zhao in the jungle. Been hearing lots of discussion around what makes Xin so strong at the moment. Put a Karma alongside him and he can really thrive as he gets towards the mid game. We'll see if XL are able to do that here, as a Rogue look towards their next two picks.
Well, I think for XL, you've already got a very strong dive onto the backline, right? The Xin Zhao, press E, Wukong, press E. You're already starting off any fight that you want. So XL already looking to be a little bit more aggressive. And I listened to an interview from YoungBuck where when he introduced Dan to the roster, he wanted someone hyper-aggressive. He wanted someone that could make plays, that could be active on the map in the early game. And I think that they want to give him a jungler that can do just that. So we'll see what XL's early game looks like in this new version of them coming to their first game this split.
Of course, XL making two changes coming into summer. Nukeduck in the mid lane, Denyk in for support. Rogue sticking with the roster that got them second place in spring. And for it, they will lock in Kalista for Han Summer in that bottom lane, and Jayce could go up towards the top side. Of course, Larssen could pilot that Jayce in mid as well.
Definitely can. But always exciting to see Han Summer on his Kalista. We have a lot of strong AD carries here in Europe, but I think the two that sit at the top are Rekkles and Han Summer right now. We'll see if that is the case throughout the split, but the two of them last split were dominant. Of course, Rekkles earning himself MVP and Han Summer having an outstanding performance in the finals, really showcasing why he is one of the best. And I'm really excited to see him on one of his favorite champions, Kalista, because he gets to have a lot of agency. They get to be very aggressive towards the bot side of the map. And we'll see how much Rogue look to invest in him in the early game with this Kalista pick.
You can see XL investing in Nukeduck in the mid lane as well. The Akali locked in for him, we assume. Of course, we have seen Wukong support in the past, but I very much doubt we're going to see that here because, of course, the Senna already taken away from by XL themselves. Thresh, the next ban, he has been banned in every single game of the LEC Summer so far. That is only 3 games, but I like to make, these grandiose statements when I can. Thresh, 100% ban rate, although usually banned in the first phase. Alongside that, a Malphite will be taken away, removing some options for hard engage there from Rogue. Rogue have taken the Leona off the cards themselves. We'll see where they go with their final ban.
Well, I like that XL seem to be following this trend of diving onto the backline. Right now, there are a lot of options to actually get on top of this Kalista. Kalista obviously very good at kiting thanks to her passive, but how much kiting can you do when there's this much damage and crowd control flying at your face from all angles? Ideally, XL looking for these types of flanks. Let's see how they complement this. Something like a Kai'Sa could work in the theme of their composition that they're going for, but perhaps not the strongest when it comes to the laning phase. But with Ezreal, Varus, and Senna already taken off the board, and a lot of powerful supports removed as well, their ability to fight back is a little bit limited, unless perhaps they're thinking something like a Draven and getting a little bit spicy in the bot side.
I mean, if it was Hans Summer picking the AD carry, I could see a Draven coming out, but Patrik is going to resort to that Kai'Sa. Has been hit with the nerf about a couple of times since MSI. Of course, the Halo Blades nerf really hitting her quite hard, but still very good at diving onto the backline, as you said, Vedius. And that is why XL have locked it in here. Now Rogue have their support, and either their mid or their top left to pick. We'll see where they decide to go. Kalista, Gragas, a very good combination.
Big fan of this Gragas against... Okay, well, I was going to say I'm a big fan of this simply because it's very powerful disengage. For anyone that saw the T1 series at the beginning of the day, there were some fantastic ultimates coming out from Carrier, and what you can do on the Gragas is when they try to go in, you immediately knock them back out. Alistar can do a similar thing to a slightly different degree. He's a little bit more of an engaged champion, but things like the Fate's Call from the Kalista ultimate can then bring him back in and then look for the re-engage. As Rogue now round out their composition with a little bit more crowd control. Kennen coming in for Odoamne in the top lane. You know, we joked earlier about how Odoamne has a lot of champions to his name. Kennen is another one that he is actually very well known for throughout his history. It was something that he's played a lot of throughout his career and something he would often default to. It was him and Alphari that were really the two big Kennen players in Europe for a very long time. And I think that into the Wukong, it can be a very powerful matchup in the top side for Odoamne.
Yeah, it's his 5th most played across his career, sitting just under a 60% win rate on that Kennen. Rakan will be the final lock here for Denyk. Kind of following in Torre's footsteps a little bit there. Torre, of course, some of his best performances when he was on XL were on that Rakan, and here we'll see how Denyk can pilot it for this new look XL lineup. So Vedi, let's talk a little bit about the expectations for these two teams. You've already set up the idea that XL are looking for this dive. How are Rogue going to be able to play around these fights?
Well, I think they have a composition that quite welcomes champions coming into them. Kennen, one of his big issues is always that if he doesn't have flash, his ability to actually get involved in the fights can often be difficult. But thanks to the entire enemy team all wanting to dive on top of you, he can then just sit next to his Kalista because he knows that's going to be the target and say, hey, I'm ready to bring the storm when you are, as long as they are on the objective first. They also have pretty good engage tools thanks to the Alistar and potentially the Rumble ultimate. Rumble, Kennen is such a powerful team fighting tool. I think what's really important for Rogue, XL rather, is that they get ahead early, they try and leverage some of their strong power, and we'll see how well they can actually set up these skirmishes and fights with their composition.
Rogue looking to start off the season swinging as they take on XL. On to Summoner's Rift we go. First time we've seen these two teams play this season. Expectations, of course, coming into this game have to be Rogue should win. XL have made some changes, but Rogue, second best team in the spring regular season, second best team in the spring playoffs, and with some of the best players in every individual role as well. Expectations are high for Rogue, and after we saw G2 and Mad battle it out in a very compelling game in Game 1, Rogue will be looking to send a message to their rivals.
Certainly will be. And I'm just really excited to see a lot of these players on the Rift again. We know that with the jungle-focused meta that we've had for a very long time now, all the way back to last year, Inspired has really been able to shine as an individual. Now that it's a little bit more about ganking and with the jungle timers being changed a little bit, I'm really interested to see how he and his role changes. Do the team still play for Inspired? Do they still play that Dom 1 style where the solo laners try to enable Inspired to allow him to get these advantages that he finds, or instead will he be playing a lot more for his lanes? It's very exciting to see how he develops and how Rogue as a team change their identity, if they even do at all.
Of course, being able to adapt with the meta is what distinguishes great teams from just good teams, or great teams from teams that are perhaps a little bit of a flash in the pan. At the moment, we see Larssen harassing Nukeduck down in this middle lane. Nukeduck hasn't really been known for his Akali, not always an assassin player, more known for his, utility control mages. Last time he played this was actually against XL all the way back in 2019, 2 years ago now. And he was able to pick up a win there for Origin against XL. Now playing for the team that he defeated, looking to pick up his first win in the XL colors.
Having a look at the jungle pathing to see if we're seeing anything too crazy. Inspired doing a full topside clear, down pathing towards bots, looking to hover around Hansama and Trymbi. Not too surprising when we look at the matchup that Rogue have drafted for themselves. Meanwhile, Dan kind of tracking, doing a similar sort of thing, skipping away his Krugs so that he can get towards the bot side. He knows that his jungle clear is going to be a little bit slower than that Rumbles, but it does look like that we may see a bit of a fight around this bot lane Scuttle Crab. Yet to spawn, but it will be spawning soon. Both junglers make their approach. Larssen has push in mids, and it looks like the bot lane of Rogue is starting to get that bounce back as both junglers get information on each other. Yeah,
Dan has to use the smite on the blue buff in case Inspired was able to steal it, so now Inspired gets the Scuttle Crab pretty much for free. Just had to poke his head into the XL jungle and was able to force his enemy man to use that smite. Inspired will work his way up towards the top side. And once again, as you say, because Larssen has the push, this should be a pretty easy double scuttle for Inspired.
Certainly will be. So in the early game, at least, Rogue's laners playing for their jungler. Not that this is a clear identity shift or anything, but getting those early scuttles are going to be very beneficial for the Rumble and just kind of that power of the early clear speed. It's a big reason as to why last year we saw these fast clear speed junglers kind of dominate the meta as Kryze overextends just a little bit.
Will use the decoy, flashes immediately to get away from those electro harpoons, was a little scared of the slow, and is able to escape underneath his tower. Inspired now constantly just prodding, putting his nose into Dan's jungle and making it difficult for Dan to find any safe parts, any easy parts to get his clear going and to get these ganks off.
But Dan will be able to clear out his Krugs, and he's here to cover for the potential dive onto Kryze. So Dan in the right place at the right time, but of course Inspired's jungle has now started to reset. The respawns are coming through for both sides, so they're actually going to continue with their clears, not going to look for the reset just yet. I mean, of course, Dan has managed to get himself the boots, but Inspired still staying out on the map. We'll see if Denyk can make anything happen in the mid lane. It looks like for now, he's just done his first reset, look for a bit of a cover, and nothing too crazy. So no insane early game action, but you can already see Rogue sitting about a 500 to 600 gold lead. Yeah. Part of that due to the jungle matchup, largely due to the mid lane matchup. Larssen, of course, having a very dominant performance in the mid lane matchup so far, as you'd come to expect in the Jayce versus Akali matchup early on.
And we can see how important it is to put your enemy jungler on the back foot if they're playing something like the Xin Zhao. Remember, just a couple of games ago, we saw Xin ganking at level 3, Jankos constantly in the mid lane, constantly getting ganks off and putting Humanoid behind. Here, Dan hasn't been able to get that snowball rolling, hasn't been able to get any early flashes out, and it makes it so much easier for Rogue to play their lanes now because they are not threatened by Dan.
Of course, it's not too late yet for Dan, still very early on into the game. But as you rightly said, we're seeing a clear difference in Xin Zhao plays because, as you rightly said, Jankos level 3 gank in his first game, into level 4 gank, into level 5 gank. The man was very active on the map, and we're yet to see Dan successfully pull anything off. You can see that Denyk is hovering around him, wants to try and offer some support, see if a play can be made. But for now, nothing too aggressive is going to happen in this early game. So Patrik receiving a bit of poke. I just sort of saw Patrik on screen. I haven't cast in a while, so my brain said, Patrik! Now I need to say something afterwards.
Welcome to play-by-play.
Inspired!
Oh, he's looking for something here, Vedius. Only level 5, doesn't have the equalizer. Larssen and Nukeduck are there as well.
Yeah, Larssen, Nukeduck. Oh yeah, this is your fabled casting style, isn't it? Dan, Kryze, Inspired.
What you need to do is say players that aren't actually on the screen anymore.
Oh, I see.
And it still works, apparently.
Well, they did notice that Kryze was pathing from top down towards the river, so they decided not to overcommit. Inspired now has hit that level 6 mark. He has got himself the Sork boot as well, so he's going to be feeling pretty powerful. Dan actually going for more of the tank itemization. Earlier on in the day, I believe it was Canyon, we saw like a very glass cannon build as the ultimate comes down.
Patrik has to support the heal and the flash to get away. Denyk will knock up Inspired and dance back towards Patrik, but this is a plate to Hans Summer, and all Inspired had to invest here was that equalizer. Trymbi might be a little bit too far forward, no Fate's Call yet available for Hans Summer, but Nukeduck TPing in really just dissuades any further dive rather than finds anything back for XL.
I think it was less about dissuading the dive and more about getting that whole bot lane wave over, as we see a small engage from Trymbi, but I don't think that's going to result in anything too big. But there was such a huge wave there that Nukeduck was saying, I can TP to at least alleviate some of that pressure, and even though they're probably not going to dive you anyway, it should force them back that you can actually catch this experience. Unfortunately for Patrik and Denyk, they're still going to be put very far behind. You can see that start to develop in the CS as well. Larssen got himself a plate, and if we can have a quick look at the gold, we can see that this separation is really starting to build. 500 in the mid lane, 700 in the bot lane, 200 top, 100 in the jungle. Like
300 in the supports,
300 in the supports as well. It's a good note there, Medic, because it's just advantages across the board. Now, you may see a number of players disconnecting. They have not.
Okay. I haven't been told about this, so if you've been informed that...
No, I haven't. It's just...
we assume they haven't.
We are playing on a delay, so what happens is, because we are online for competitive integrity, we do play on that delay, which means that any issues are kind of happening in the future, they get resolved, and then we are just kind of seeing, as a result of the spectator, kind of like the after effects of that. But all of the players are going to continue to play, and if there are any issues, of course, we will keep you updated. But for now, the players are continuing to crack on, and Rogue sit with the small gold advantage for now.
I was going to say, the Rogue players are playing a lot better than people that disconnect in my solo queue games. So usually they just run into the enemy teams.
That is very true.
Rogue doing a bit better than that right now. Currently sitting about 1,500 gold, 1,200 gold ahead, in a very strong position. You can see CS leads in the mid lane, a CS lead in the bot lane, and of course all those plates that we've seen them picking up.
And Medic, it's the classic Rogue.
Yep.
We saw this from them so often last split, which was where they swap up. Oh no, he missed the Q. It
has been 2 years since he played the champ on the LEC stage. We'll give him that one.
No, we won't.
Getting his protractor out, he's doing the angles, working out the math.
But we saw the swap up towards top side. Now Odoamne. He was praised as the weak side king last split. He is aware of a potential jungler because he knows there's always a jungler in his lane. Yep. He's sitting on the side lane. He doesn't have that much support, but Inspired is hovering him. Now what surprises me here is that typically what we would see from Hans Summer and Trymbi is that commitment up towards the top side, a threaten of a dive, and then usually the investment of the Herald. So that you get all those plates funneled into Hans Summer, usually solo, and as the observers are highlighting for is now, they'll kind of just leave him in his lane to get all of these plates by himself, and often Trymbi will just leave. He'll go with Inspired to help him, like, look for a play elsewhere, but for now he wants to make sure that he is safe, as Larssen is now pathing up towards top. But with 3 plates left standing, I imagine that Inspired is going to start pathing up towards top relatively soon, and that Herald is definitely going to be invested up towards the top side of the map, so they can funnel as much gold into Hans Summer. This is very typical Rogue, and it seems that their star from last split really hasn't shifted that much.
I mean, they don't really need to shift it too much. It worked very well for them in spring. Here's the Fate's Call. No level 6 on Denyk. There's the double knockup coming out from Trymbi as they look to try and catch up Patrik. Knock him back. There's the stun. Even with the killing stick, Patrik should not survive this. The rend won't be enough as Hans Summer is unable to get those final bits of damage down. But here comes Inspired. And it might be time for an equalizer. First blood to Inspire.
The range is just so long, and well played by Denyk there. The exhaust was very well timed. The shielding from Patrik's ultimate combined with the Guardian and the E was enough to actually keep Patrik alive. Unfortunately, it was not enough to keep his life, as Larssen now getting collapsed on.
Dan's on the way. Early flash there from Larssen. Didn't want to get hit by the wind becomes lightning, because then, of course, the Xin Zhao can follow up very quickly with the audacious charge.
So let's have a look at this. The CC chain was beautiful. The knockup into the flash stun, and the knockback as well from Trymbi. So he's basically used everything at this point, even sidesteps Dan's W, but the damage wasn't quite enough thanks to all the shields.
You can't even see Rumble. Look where he's in Tribush.
The range is quite large. The Dark Harvest proc as well comes through, and Patrik knows his fate is sealed, and he ends up falling as we get a bit of T-Tours from our observers.
The fate of many pop stars' careers.
Burned.
Yeah.
I don't know where you were going with that, but
I mean,
right.
onto CDs.
Good one, good one,
days.
Denyk. Good one.
Thanks, mate.
So they take the top tower for Rogue. They've extended their gold lead to 3.5k. And it hasn't been explosive, but this is typically what Rogue do.
Yeah.
They use their early game priority to just control the map, and they prevent the opposition from doing very little. And when the first fights do actually happen, look at the itemization difference. That is an Eclipse completed for Larssen. That is a Shield Bow completed for Hansama. Like, the two big carries have their first core item, and more plates are being funneled onto Hansama. What he's going to get, that makes that, I believe, 8 plates now. He has a 1.6k gold lead over his AD carry counterpart. This is how Rogue control the game. They are calm, they are disciplined, and then when it comes to the team fights, that's where we'll get to see the more explosive nature of their style.
And Rogue just, they're so good at playing this style, and because of, as we say, they kept the same roster as they did in spring, I think it was to be expected that they would continue this style. We'll see as they develop throughout the season, maybe against slightly tougher opposition who haven't switched out a few of their players, whether or not Inspired has to play a bit of a different role. But here, all he's done is say, well, we can funnel gold into Hansama. Yes, he picked up the first kill, but that was more an afterthought than anything else. But really all Inspired has been trying to do this game is get as much gold into that Kalista as possible, make sure his lanes are set up for success. And now as we get, out of the obvious laning phase, we get to see this Rogue composition really come online.
If you like watching good League, you're always going to enjoy watching Rogue, because it feels like that they're always doing the right thing. Their control is often very good, their vision setup is clean, and it feels like that it's very difficult to punish them, because the draft is where the game really starts for this team, and they often focus on getting a winning 2 versus 2 bot side of the map, and the way in which they leverage it in the early game is so dominant and controlling that, I mean, it got them to the finals, and it got them all the way to those 5 games, right? As you rightly said, it's worked for them for an entire split, and it continues to work for them here at the start of Sun.
And if you want to see something that might be good League, or might be a total clown fiesta, Whippo plays jungle in Game 5. Make sure you stay around for that one. It's going to be a fun day of League of Legends. We've already seen Treats have a relatively good Rumble jungle performance in the last game as the bait call comes out, and Dan is CC'd to death. Burnt to a crisp as Inspired puts down the red carpet. Hansama with his first kill of the game. Rogue only need 2 kills, but with it they have a 5,000 gold lead, Vedius.
It's interesting. Dan probably thought that he was the jungler. Turns out Hansama is the jungler now. Gets to just walk in wherever he likes, and that's the advantage of taking all these early towers. You get to control this deep vision in the enemy jungle as much as you like. That will be their second kill of the game, and that will be a 5,000 gold lead.
I've accidentally touched the telestrator and highlighted the fact it's a mountain drake. Thank you.
Good observation, good highlight there, Medic.
Yep. I think it's important. Wait, I don't usually get to access this.
True. There's a reason for that. Stop. Stop it.
What about the Alistar? Guys, I think we need to focus on the supports more. I think it's very... Look at this wall.
Okay, this is why we don't let Medic touch the telestrator, but unfortunately, I don't have the power to stop it. So, if you all at home see random circles, I know the chat is a big fan of the circle, and some of you start praying to it occasionally.
Range to the circle.
There will be no more circles unless for educational purposes. So, for this meaning, I will attempt to now bring up the mini-map and highlight this control over the top side where the circle will return. Look at this investment from the vision, and we can see that this control that they have, they pushed in mid, they're able to successfully push in top as well, and it allows them easy control over this objective as well. So easily done by Rogue.
Yeah, and you said it in draft, Betty. What Rogue need is to gain control of objectives before XL are able to get there. XL have really strong dive, and if Rogue are walking into them, can be able to find a few of these picks. But Rogue are so far ahead right now that it's very easy for them to gain control, get the deep vision in, and XL really can't do anything about it.
The more I think about it, the more I just feel like Rogue's draft just kind of stops XL's comp doing anything, really. Because they made it very obvious that they wanted to go for that dive, backline, hyper-aggressive, skirmish-style comp with their first priority on the Wukong and the Xin. And then this final pick of the Kennen, the fact that they have the Alistar, Kalista too, there's just so many disengaged tools that, like, unless XL were able to get advantages in the early game through, like, hyper ganks with the Xin Zhao, I feel like that this comp was always going to be difficult to play out. And, like, you then look, where does he gank? It's not easy to gank a Kennen, even when you try to dive it, thanks to the E, and once he gets his ultimate, it becomes even more difficult. Then you try to gank bot lane, like mid is your only real option, but Larssen just kept Akali permanently pushed underneath the tower and half HP, so Dan was very limited on his options and where he could actually look for plays, and then by the time that he's actually in a position to make any of those plays, you've lost all of your towers. Yeah, it's kind of been a very difficult from the very beginning for XL, I feel. And you're kind of now just hoping for a miracle. You're kind of looking and waiting for Rogue to make a mistake. And I feel like
traditionally do that.
Well, outside of that 5th game against Mads, like I feel like that whenever you take a huge defeat like that, you then see like a rapid evolution of a team. And I remember when Larssen, he made that package play with the Corki and like how frustrated he was. And like the immediate evolution after that, he came back and he was a much stronger, much more consistent, way more reliable mid laner. And I feel like as a team, Rogue must have been super frustrated after that final because it was kind of their game to lose, and then they ended up losing it. Yep. So you imagine that they've learned, and we'll see how they kind of convert this. Because bear in mind that they've got a 6.5, 7K gold lead at 17.5 minutes. Like it is what, close to a perfect game? It is a perfect game, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure how many plates they lost.
Plates don't count. It's scoreboard plus Rift Horde is what we count.
All right, I mean that's fair, but like. Rogue have come out. We talked about it. It needs to be, I say needs to be, kind of we were expecting Rogue to come in and make a statement, right? And having a perfect game in your very first game of the split kind of establishes you as, hey everyone, remember us, we're still
pretty good.
We're still pretty good.
I mean, there's 2 ways to make a statement, right? There's what I will call the G2 way, which is a 20 kills at 10-minute game where in the end you end up winning through skirmishes. And then there's the Rogue way, which is the, hey guys, we're 500 gold ahead in the first 5 minutes of the game, just through laning.
It's like you don't get to play League of Legends, right? You're a spectator.
You can watch us, and we'll continue just to take tower after tower, and now XL, they don't want to spectate any longer. They have bought tickets, and they are looking to get into the action. Kryze coming in with the flank TP, Larssen flashing away. Here goes Kryze, there's the Cyclone. And Reddy, why'd you say it, man?
The perfect game is ruined. Good engage from XL. They will alleviate some of the pressure. And interestingly, it looked like Rogue were trying to collapse in from the flank. But because I was paying attention to Larssen, I didn't quite see why that collapse didn't end up happening, and Larssen ended up being isolated. But in any case, it will put XL on the scoreboard. It won't suddenly remove the gold deficit that they find themselves in, but it will alleviate some of the pressure that Rogue is exerting over XL.
Yeah, it will get rid of, you know, Larssen, I guess. They still lose out damage in the mid lane, they lose Cryo in the mid lane, and Rogue are in a very commanding position. 3 minutes on the Inferno. We did have a very late first dragon, and so it'll be a while before we get towards an Infernal Soul, but Rogue currently have 2 dragons in their back pocket, Cloud and Mountain, and will be looking to continue their objective dominance of this game with that next dragon as well. Could even go for Baron here. They do have like perfect control of that topside vision. Would be a bit greedy. They don't really, I mean, they've got Alistar as a tank, but he's gone Shurelius as well.
Flipping it against this comp could be risky.
Yeah. And that's not Rogue style at all. So.
It's not really. They don't usually like to flip things, but they definitely will be aggressive when it comes to objectives. They are willing to fight for them, but that's more about when it comes to the vision setup. And you can see, once again, on the minimap how great their vision setup actually is. And thank you, observers, for highlighting it. Double control wards. They have that one ward on the Gromp as well. And you can see Summer and Trymbi just sitting here, threatening anyone that happens to overextend, as Dan is aware that his jungle might not be as safe as it looks. Just thank you, observers, as well, for highlighting that. XL, you can see how far pushed back they actually are. They don't even get to see past the halfway park of most of their lanes because of the amount of pressure and push the Rogue has over their minion waves. And now the vision continues to be denied. Well executed from Rogue. Calm, clinical, effective play. And as you rightly said, they're not going to gamble on the Baron for now. They're going to look to reset, replenish some of their vision. And, oh, just straight by a Rage Blade. Cool. Yeah, you can also do that, Summer. 3 items now completed for him.
Yeah, Summer very strong right now. Larssen as well with the Eclipse Manamune stacking up. Has himself a little bit of extra lethality just to add a bit more punch to those shock blasts.
Do you know how I remember the difference between Manamune and Muramana?
I mean, they were swordsmiths.
No, that's not what I mean.
Japanese.
I mean the name. So you know, like when you're looking at the sword and you're like, is it Manamune or is it Muramana?
I just remember them because I can remember things.
No, but there's.
Do you need a mnemonic for it?
Muramana means you've got more mana, which is the upgraded one. And that's how I remember Muramana is the
And Manamune is a man who needs...
No, no. No.
I don't
Why am I
know.
going to make this weird? It's
Well, no,
Muramana. Because you have more mana. Do you get it? You have
If
more
I have a
mana.
Glacial Shroud, do I have Muramana?
Why are you making this
got
weird?
more mana.
Why are you making this weird, man? I'm just
Honestly,
telling you.
we're 22 minutes in the game and there have been 3 kills, Vedius. I appreciate the Rogue, a very good team, and the XL are struggling, but I've got to do something funny, because right now, the League of Legends is slow.
I was just trying to explain, you know, I don't even, what are they called, you know, like when you like make that reference? I don't, you know, I don't know the
Here's
name
the
of
problem.
it.
I've kind of built a brand on being the guy that knows things, and I
You
don't know.
Wow, it's rare. Engage, go with it.
Cool going in. There's the equalizer as well as they look to catch out Dan. Crescent Guard will keep him safe for the time being. Nukeduck in his shroud. I put another circle on the map. If you could get rid of that for me, please, Vedius. Patrik chunked out as well with a shock blast. Nukeduck dives in, dives back, and laughs his way all the way back underneath his tier 2. Now Rogue will turn their eyes towards the Baron.
That will be spotted out, though. There is no control ward in the pit for the time being. Nukeduck goes in, and I think he's
more Nukeduck than Nukeduck right
yeah.
now.
That's kind of what happens when the Akali goes in, but it did force the ultimate. The problem is, no teleport on Kryze. XL have all been forced to disengage. The best bet they can do really right now is try and trade the Drake as the Baron is secured for Rogue. And this is very much what we were talking about earlier on, where they won't flip a Baron, but the way in which they use that mid lane fight in order to quickly convert it into it kind of just goes to show how confident and aggressive they are willing to be. They are not slow with their gameplay. And now they've managed to extend the lead to just under 10k. They'll continue to take the top camps. Odoamne is now threatening the top tier 3.
Top tier 3.
The tower in the top lane. Yep. As Hans Sommer is solo pushing in mids. Well, he does have 3 items, so he's probably not that afraid of Dan.
You can see Rogue didn't actually even have to use any of their flashes in that last fight. Larssen's is just coming back off cooldown, I believe. Kryze is going to split push down towards the bottom side, but with Baron, Rogue can just go for this 4-1. Odoamne's Slicing Maelstrom on its way back to being available. And that is another tier 2 gone. 5 towers to 0 in favor of Rogue. As you say, almost a 10,000 gold lead in before XL can even blink. Their mid lane inhibitor tower has gone down. Kryze has TP. Here we go, looking for a flank. Has the blast cone there as well, but Rogue just walk up towards Odoamne, and that TP does absolutely nothing. Odoamne now is chipped away at this inhibitor tower for the last few minutes, and they are looking for the inhib in the top lane. Mid lane inhib does still stand. Kryze looking for that flank, can't quite get in. Hans Sommer dives forward, puts a little bit of damage into the back of the Monkey King. And Kryze is half HP and will be working his way back towards the fountain. Nukeduck does land the shuriken, but will not dive forward as Rogue continue their dominance over this game. Vedius 7 towers to 1, a 10,000 gold lead. 2 kills to 1, not as impressive, but still very impressive stuff here from Rogue as they start off their summer campaign.
Has Odoamne used Flash yet this game?
Gonna say probably as Kryze goes in. Odoamne with the Slicing Maelstrom as well. The charm's not gonna do too much as Kryze is burnt to a crisp. Denyk goes down as well. Patrik killer instincts onto the back line, but all it does is kill him quicker. Nukeduck dives away, almost falls. Trymbi and Larssen will chase him out as XL should be aced here before the end of the game. Dan chased under his Nexus towers. Rogue with a pretty clean ace at the end. Only Odoamne going down. And Rogue will open up their ledger. A dominant victory here against XL to kick off their summer season.
Beautiful execution from Rogue from start to finish. Bot lane dominance, the way they translated their pressure around the map. Extremely well executed from Rogue. And they start off their split as they mean to carry it on. Simple dominance and still a clear favorite for the summer split.
Oh, they definitely are. Superb stuff by them. XL, we didn't really see too much of them. And I will say, this is their hardest game of the weekend as well. Wasn't really expecting them to be able to show too much against Rogue. If they had done something, it would have been a pleasant surprise. But for the rest of the weekend, they have slightly easier matchups. Astralis and Sjokz still to face, and we'll see then how these roster swaps are really affecting that XL lineup.
Yeah, I really liked the draft adaptations from from Rogue once they saw what XL were trying to do, the way in which they punished the hard engage, the fact that they had laners that were very difficult to gank. All in all, just very impressive stuff from Rogue and an exciting setup for what we'll see from them for the rest of the split.
Yeah, and if you want to vote for one of those Rogue players in the Kia Player of the Game vote at LEC on Twitter, it's Inspired, Hans, and Trymbi who are your options.
I have a feeling I know who's going to win.
Just remember, circle the Alistar, guys. Circle the Alistar. Supports need attention too. Trymbi had a good game. And we all know who's going to win, but
It's going to be Hans.
in a few minutes, we'll get our first look at Vitality's new top side as they face off against Schalke 04.
welcome back to the LEC Summer. Rogue start their LEC season with a big convincing win here against XL. And Larssen, thank you for joining me. Glad to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This game looked easy on every aspect, I want to say, as a viewer. Like, it was a clean game, not too many kills. It felt like a macro game, actually. What made it look so easy for you?
We actually played XL every first game of the split 5 times in a row, and I think every time it's the same story. I feel like it's very slow game every time, and they're a bit nervous maybe, so they don't really fight. So we just win through macro, which is fine. I mean, it's more fun to fight, but if enemies doesn't fight us, then we're happy to just play the macro game and close it out that way. And yeah, I think it was a pretty clean win.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said, you played XL a lot of times, but they brought in 2 new players here with Nukeduck and Denyk, who weren't there in spring. So did you think XL would look the same even though they brought in 2 new players?
I'm not sure. I thought it would be kind of similar. I don't think it's like 2 big changes like skill-wise of the players. So, I mean, I don't really think about the enemy team too much. The only thing that matters is how we play. And yeah, I didn't really pay attention to enemy team that much.
All right.
Actually, yeah. I actually thought they had a different support until end of the game when I realized the support was Denyk. So yeah, I mean, that shows that the only thing that matters for me is like how we play, right, and not the enemies. Okay, well, that's a champion mindset, actually, being way too focused on your game. But I also have a couple more questions about other teams, because we only saw a glimpse of the meta so far, but it feels like we're going to have some new picks, some new champions, especially on mid lane, maybe less control mages. Who do you think it's going to be benefiting to? Like, which team is going to perform better because of these mid lane changes? I mean, we're probably gonna be worse since I'm only a mage player. I can't really play those other champs than mages, so it's definitely gonna hurt us a lot. But for other teams, it would be great, but it would be hard for us, yeah. I like the sarcasm. Thank you, Larssen. Now, last question for you. We didn't talk actually since spring finals, and I don't want to bring any bad memories, but I also want to know, how did you utilize this off-season to be ready on summer, and what is going to be Rogue in summer? What's your resolution? I mean, I want us to be very similar to last split, but we kind of threw too many games where we had leads. So for us, it's a big thing to learn to snowball the mid game better. Mm-hmm. And like Jayce, for example, I think they're very good snowballing the games, or Mad. So just playing a bit higher tempo, I guess, in mid game in a way where we don't take it too slow and we're not afraid to fight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, clean games. Not throwing, and please keep the sarcasm. I really like it. Thank you, Larssen, for this interview, and good luck for the rest of the Super Week. Thank you. And we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back in a couple minutes with Shock and All Fear versus Vitality. Stay tuned.